of Orthodox spirituality.
Lord, have mercy, Lord, have mercy.
A wondrous journey into Orthodoxy.
Lord, have mercy.
Prepared and presented by Angeliki Antonakou, Lekea.
Hello, dear listeners. We are continuing to read from the book Family Life, the 4th volume in the series Spiritual Counsels by Saint Paisios. Chapter 2, The Respect and Love of Children for Parents, the Respect of Children for Parents. A child when little is unable to do anything for himself. So the parents take care of all his needs, food, clothing, and so forth. They help the child out of love, without the child having to work very hard. The child may do some light chore here and there, but in this way, can the child repay his parents for their hard work or for the amount of money they spent on him? However, when the child grows up and doesn't understand what his parents have done for him, it is a very grave oversight. In the old days, parents would spank their children, and the children would accept it without a second thought. Quite often, they didn't even understand why they were being spanked in the first place. Nowadays, children are full of contradictions and are always asking why. They have no simplicity. They judge every little thing as if it were to pass through a sieve. But that is not the way the grace of God comes to us. When a child doesn't consider his father as a father and doesn't accept the guidance of his father, that child is not a normal, legitimate child. If the parents make a comment or a remark about their behavior, some children right away say, "I'll kill myself." What can the parents do then? They give in, and in the end, the children are destroyed. The child must understand that if the parents give him a smack now and then, they are not doing it out of malice, but out of love, in order to correct him, so that he becomes better and will be able to rejoice later. When we were little children, whether our parents caressed us, whether they spanked us, whether they kissed us, we accepted it all. We understood that they did everything for our good. We had great trust in them. In fact, sometimes my mother would punish the wrong child, for she had no time to hold court. However, the guilty one would be censured by his conscience and would eventually admit that it was his fault, and the other child would be exonerated. In the family, the young must have respect for the parents and for older people in general. They should feel that they have a need to show respect, submission, and gratitude towards their elders. The older people, again, must have love for the younger ones and be ready to help and protect them. When the young respect their elders and the elders love the young, a very beautiful family atmosphere is created. My father would tell me, "I want you to obey your older brother." Elder Paisios had 7 brothers and sisters. We knew that my father loved us all, and so we were bolder with him. We were even more obedient to our older brother, in whom we didn't find the love of our father. When husband and wife have respect for one another, and the children respect the parents, the life in the family is peaceful and goes like clockwork. In such a family, the older son would never say to the mother, "Look here, mother, never do this again," or "Why did you do this and why did you do that?" But not even the father speaks to the mother in this manner. The older brother may joke and play around with the younger brother so as to make him happy, but the younger one must not become outspoken because of the happiness he feels whenever his brother plays around with him. When I was at the Stomion monastery, I would go to town to buy materials. a little child, whose home was on the way to town, would come as soon as he saw me, and I would kiss his hand. As time went on, he became accustomed to this, and he would run to offer me his hand for a kiss. I would, of course, kiss it. Afterwards, his parents told me, "Father, please do not kiss his hand, because he goes to the priests and offers them his hand, and if they don't kiss it, he starts crying." The married children's love for their parents. The good God has provided that a married couple be united with a love such that both the husband and the wife can even abandon their own parents for the sake of the new union. If this type of love did not exist, they wouldn't be able to create their own family. The purpose of parenthood ends once the children are settled. From that point on, children only owe parents great respect and as much love as parents need. Now, I'm not saying that they should not love their parents. What I'm saying is that the new spouses ought to first love one another and then love their parents. They should have such an abundance of love for each other that they can share the overabundance of this love with their parents and grant them all their respect and gratitude. Their love should be noble, allowing each one to provide as much assistance as possible to each other's parents. The husband should love his wife far more than his mother or any other loved and related person, for this greatly helps the harmony of the family. His love for his parents should be conveyed through his wife. The same thing, of course, should be done by the wife. I know of couples who experience difficulties at the beginning of their marriage because the wife or the husband loves the mother excessively. This usually stems from the philotimo they have. They feel gratitude for their mother. With time, however, as the couple bonds ever more closely, this will not be a problem. It wouldn't be normal for a couple to so love one another from the start that their love would replace the love for the mother. When the husband respects his parents, this is to his honor, as it also is an honor for the wife to respect and love her mother-in-law, for she gave birth to her husband, she raised him, and now that he is an adult, she, the wife, finds delight in him. All these things, when seen by the children, speak silently but powerfully to the souls of their children. When a mother sees her son married, she feels just like an older child feels upon seeing a younger sibling in the arms of the mother, for before she found great consolation in his love for her, and seniors tend to become like children again. You see, if one doesn't cut away passions while young, then as one matures, the self-will is weakened and the passions increase. But a daughter-in-law must not misunderstand this. If she is taking care of her aged mother-in-law, she should practice a little patience and not lose the wages she is accumulating by offering her this assistance. If she now serves her mother-in-law with patience, later, when the hardship passes, she will rejoice for the good she has offered. Naturally, the mother-in-law must love her daughters-in-law as her own daughters. My grandmother, my father's mother, loved my mother more than my father. When my brothers got married, the neighborhood woman said, "Wait till the daughters-in-law come." And my mother would say to them, "Why do you say that? My mother-in-law loves me more than her daughter. Why should I not love my daughters-in-law the same way?" And in fact, she too loved them as her own daughters. Old age humbles a person. How one is humbled in old age. Old people gradually lose their strength and resemble old hawks. When a hawk grows old, its feathers fall and its wings look like broken combs. I remember in the monastery of Philotheo, the holy monastery of Philotheo was then idiorhythmic. There was a proestamenos, a senior elder of the administration council of the monastery. The idiorhythmic monastery is ruled by a council of superiors who are elected for life. who in 1914 had gone voluntarily from Smyrna, Asia Minor, to Albania to take revenge on the Turks who had slaughtered his father. Once he captured a Turk and was preparing to kill him. But the Turk told him, "Our religion is without grace and tells us to kill the infidels, while yours is not like that. Christ tells you not to kill." When he heard that, he was so moved that he threw away his gun and decided to go to Mount Athos to become a monk. So he became a monk. He even became a proistamenos, but still had the rebellious spirit within him. He was responsible for all the chores, and he kept all the keys to the storage spaces dangling from his belt. No one dared to speak a word to him. If a father forgot to call him by his title, Elder Spiridon, he would have a fit. One time, during Great Lent, some bandits went to the monastery and demanded that cheese be given to them. "You swine," he told them, "you're asking for cheese during Great Lent." And he threw them out of the monastery. Another time, the fathers had taken apart the chandeliers to clean them. The bandits had seen the shining pieces and mistook them for gold. So they took them, threw them into bags, and loaded them onto the mules of the area to transport them. But when Elder Spiridon saw them, he stopped them, emptied the bags, and told them angrily, "You worthless trash, this is only brass, just like you." He was fearless, but in his old age, he had become sick and humbled by the circumstances of his life. They had assigned me to help him out a little. One day he called on me Lekea, the name received by the elder when he became a cassock-wearing monk. "Come and pray for me, I do not feel well." I got up and started praying aloud for him with my goboskini. "Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on your servant, the Elder Spiridon." But then, "Hey, you, just say for Spiro," he told me. You see, sickness and old age had humbled him. Before that, no one would ever dare to address him by any name other than the formal Elder Spiridon. Even my own father was humbled in his old age by a single fly. One day my sister found him crying. "What is the matter, father?" she asked him. "Has some grandchild disturbed you in some way?" No, he responded. "What is a man? I just tried to kill a fly with the fly swatter, and I could not. I tried this way and that way, and it got away each time. When I was young, I was such a marksman that I would not kill the Cetes." Cetes are Turkish rebel forces. I wounded them intentionally so as to cause them to surrender. At 16, I aimed at a lion, wounded it, and fought with a wounded lion. And now I can't even kill a fly. Man is nothing. The poor man felt that he was nothing, as if he hadn't done anything significant in his life. Even in the infirmaries of the monasteries of Mount Athos, the elderly monks are so humbled in their old age. They go through a second tonsuring. They cut their long hair, so it will be easier to wash and take care of. They also have to trim their beards for reasons of personal hygiene, as they may have difficulties eating and keeping clean. This is their final tonsure. It is the tonsure of humility. The reward of caring for the elderly. What has the world come to? In Pharasa and in Epirus, people would even take care of elderly animals, not just the mules, for that is understandable, but even those animals whose meat was edible. For example, they respected the strong oxen with which they plowed the fields, so they took care of them in their old age, saying, "We had bread because of them." In other words, working animals were taken care of when they grew old and were no longer able to work. They even had a good old age. Back then, people didn't have the means that are available today. Grain used for animal feed was ground manually into a fine consistency to enable the old and feeble oxen to eat it. Modern-day man has strayed from such things. They won't even take care of elderly humans, much less elderly farm animals. I personally have never felt better than when I was asked to take care of a frail elder. Taking care of an elderly person provides many rewards. I remember being told of a novice monk on Mount Athos who was possessed by a fearful demon and who had been assigned to take care of 6 elderly monks in the infirmary of the monastery. Things were tough back then. There were no conveniences. He would load their clothing onto his back and take them to a far-off cistern to wash them by hand, using lye. After some time, the novice was delivered from the demon and he became a monk. You see, not only did he take care of the elderly monks with a spirit of sacrificial love and respect, but he also received their many blessings. Many couples are angered by the difficulties their families face, which are caused by the idiosyncrasies and the grumbling of the elderly parents they must tend. They forget how naughty, grumpy, and peculiar they were when they were children. They don't remember that they never gave their parents a moment's rest with all their crying and affected airs. This is why God allows them to encounter these difficulties, so that they may somehow pay off their own bad behavior. Now it is their turn to support and take care of their elderly parents with gratitude for all the sacrifices they made for them when they were children. Those who don't feel the sense of obligation towards their parents will be judged by God as unjust and ungrateful. I also see that the troubles many worldly people have are often caused by the fact that their parents are embittered with them. Families suffer because they fail to take care of their elderly parents. When the poor little old grandmother or the aged grandfather is taken to and abandoned in a nursing home, with their property taken away from them, while unable to enjoy their grandchildren and left to die with bitterness, what kind of a blessing can the children ever expect from them? Just today, an old lady told me that she has 4 sons who are married and live on the same block she lives on, but that she can't visit them because she once advised her daughters-in-law, "Have love among yourselves, go to church with your families." Well, they were very offended. "Don't ever come to our homes again," they declared. She hasn't seen her children for 5 years, and the poor woman was crying. "Pray for me, Father," she told me. "I have grandchildren too. At least let me see them in my dreams." Well, what kind of progress can her children expect to make? And even though having a grandmother in the family is a great blessing, these people don't understand that. Usually, the grandfather becomes ill sooner, and his wife takes care of him. When their father dies, then, it is good for the children to take their mother to their home and have her help with the grandchildren so that she doesn't feel useless and alone. They both win, as she finds comfort and the parents are greatly helped. For nowadays, a mother never has enough time to do her chores and to provide the children with all the tender loving care they need. Therefore, this is what the grandmother provides, because her age is the age of love and nurturing. You see, when the children are naughty, the mother will scold them, but the grandmother will caress them. With the grandmother's caregiving, a mother can get her work done, while the children have an abundance of loving care, and the grandmother herself can find comfort in her grandchildren's love. He who looks after his parents has a great blessing from God. One day, a young family man said to me, "Yeroda, I'm thinking of adding 2 small apartments, one for my parents and one for my in-laws, on the first floor of the new house I am building." You can't imagine how much this thought moved and pleased me. I gave him so many blessings. I wonder why it is that so many couples don't even understand this. Just a few days ago, a woman came and told me, "Father, my mother had a stroke. I'm tired of these 8 years of having to turn her first one way and then another." Can you imagine a daughter speaking like that about her mother? Well, I said to her, "This is simple. I will now pray that you get paralyzed for 8 years and that your mother recovers so that she can take care of you." "No, no, Father," she shouted. "How about 4 years? At least 4 years," I responded. "Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Which is preferable, to have your health with no pains, care for a sick person, and have your reward from God, or to be sick and suffer, unable to move your leg, and have to humble yourself to beg, 'Bring the bedpan, turn me this way, turn me that way'?" After she heard all that, she came to her senses somewhat. If children put themselves in their old parents' place, and if a daughter-in-law puts herself in her mother-in-law's place and thinks to herself, "One day I too will grow old and become a mother-in-law. Wouldn't I want my daughter-in-law to give me attention and care?" Then I believe such problems wouldn't exist. The parent's blessing. The greatest inheritance parents can give their children is their blessing, and children should make every effort to merit their blessing. Don't you remember what Jacob did to secure his father's blessing? He even put on the skin of a sheep. Genesis 27. The maternal blessing is the most important of all. Someone used to say, "Every word spoken by my mother is like a gold coin." Just a short time ago, a man from Johannesburg made a great impression on me. He came to the Kalivi in autumn and said, "Yeronda, my mother is ill and I've come to see her." 3 months had not passed and he came to see me again. So I asked him, "What brings you back?" "I was summoned that my mother is ill again and I've come to kiss her hand, for she is quite old and may die. For me, the greatest heritage is my mother's blessing." Now imagine a 60-year-old man set out from Johannesburg and came to Greece to kiss his mother's hand. And now he is so blessed, he's even thinking of building a large nursing home for the clergy and donating it to the church. You could say that he has so many blessings that he doesn't know where to put them. For me, this kind of soul is like medicine. It's like being in the Sahara Desert and suddenly discovering a little bit of water. Such souls are rare nowadays. Another man also came to the Kalivi, and he was crying, "Father, my mother cursed me. Our home is filled with illnesses and worries, and my work isn't going very well," he said. I said to him, "Surely you weren't in line yourself. She can't have cursed you without a reason." "Yes, I was." "Then go and ask forgiveness from your mother," I told him. "I will, Father," he answered. "But give me your blessing." "You have my blessing," I assured him, "but you must get your mother's blessing too." "It will be difficult to get her blessing," he said. "You must go, and if she does not give it to you, then tell her, 'An elder told me that you too will have to surrender your soul.'" So he went, and his mother gave him her blessing, saying, "My son, may you have the blessing of Abraham." After some time he came back to Mount Athos, bearing cherry preserves and lucumia. He was overjoyed. His children were well, and his business was also going well. He was constantly teary-eyed and kept saying, "Glory be to God." His whole life had changed, and he talked about spiritual things all the time. How much more is one blessed when he has respect and reverence for his parents at all times? How could he not have the blessing of God? Part 4. Spiritual Life. If one comes to love God, if one comes to recognize His great sacrifice and His good works, and if one exerts himself with discernment and imitation of the saints, he will be quickly sanctified. It is enough that he be humbled, that he become conscious of his wretchedness and his tremendous ingratitude towards God. Chapter 1. Spiritual Life in the Family. The more one grumbles, the more one falls into ruin. Yeroda, why do people grumble, and how can it be avoided? Grumbling is caused by misery, and it can be put aside by doxology, giving praise. Grumbling begets grumbling, and doxology begets doxology. When someone doesn't grumble over a problem troubling him, but rather praises God, then the devil gets frustrated and goes off to someone else who grumbles, in order to cause everything to go even worse for him. You see, the more one grumbles, the more one falls into ruin. Sometimes the devil deceives us and makes us unable to be pleased with anything. However, one can celebrate all things in a spiritual manner with doxology and secure God's constant blessing. Look here, I know someone on Mount Athos who, if it's raining and you tell him it's raining again, he will start saying, "Yes, it's always raining. We are going to rot from all the humidity." And if after only a little while the rain stops and you tell him, "Well, it didn't rain too much after all," he'll say, "Yes, but what kind of rain was that? Everything will dry out." You can't say that he's crazy. It's just that he's grown accustomed to grumbling. It's strange to see a rational man thinking irrationally. Grumbling carries a curse. It's as if someone is cursing himself, and then the wrath of God comes upon him. I knew 2 farmers in Epirus. One of them was a family man who had a couple of small fields and who entrusted everything to God. He worked as much as he could without anxiety. He would say, "I'll do as much as I can manage." Occasionally, some of the hay bales would spoil in the rain because he didn't gather them in time, while other bales were scattered by the wind. And yet, for all things he would say, "Glory to you, O God." And everything went well for him. The other farmer had many fields, cows, and so on, but no children. If you asked him, "How are you doing?" he would invariably respond, "Forget about it, don't even ask." He never said, "Glory to you, O God." He was always grumbling. And so that you will see, sometimes a cow of his would die. Sometimes one thing would happen to him, sometimes something else. He had everything, but he made no progress. This is why I say that doxology is a great matter. Whether or not we taste the blessings God gives us depends on us. But how are we to taste God's blessings? If He gives us, for example, bananas, and we're thinking of whatever better things some ship owner might be eating. How many people there are who eat only dry bread, but praise God day and night and are nurtured with heavenly sweetness? Such people acquire a spiritual sensitivity and are acquainted with the caresses of God. We don't understand these things because our heart is caught up with filth and we are not satisfied with anything. We don't understand that happiness is in eternity and not in vanity.
Confession that majesty has thou put on. Blessed art thou, O Lord.
Dear listeners, our time is up. Thank you for listening. We will continue where we left off once again in our next show. Until then, be well.
Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy, Lord have
Readings of Orthodox Spirituality.
Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy,
A wondrous journey into Orthodoxy.
Lord have mercy.
Prepared and presented by Angeliki Antonakou, Lekea.